this Tuesday, July 8th, trying to get you through it best we can.
Yeah.
Speaking
Well, the traffic is not doing too badly.
Oh.
Something I don't like to say out loud, but I
know.
just
I know. Historically at this hour.
Yeah.
But we know things can change.
Yeah, and in the weather department, they're changing in a different way from what we even saw yesterday.
Yeah, so even hotter today. Temperatures in the 90s, heat index numbers over 100 degrees. It was pretty steamy, too, yesterday. And then this afternoon, get ready for more thunder showers. Some of those could be severe. So let's start with the heat advisory that includes most of the tri-state heat index numbers in the upper 90s, as high as 103, maybe even 105 in some spots across New Jersey. Once it gets this high, your body has to work so much harder to cool down. On top of that, a slight risk for severe weather. That's level 2 out of 5. That includes the city, all of New Jersey, portions of the Hudson Valley, and western sections of Nassau County. The main concern will be damaging winds and downpours. So it's not going to rain all day. We'll see most of the activity late this afternoon throughout this evening. Some of those storms could also produce flooding downpours. There's a flash flood watch for most of the region for rainfall rates approaching 2 inches per hour. So make sure to stay weather aware and have a way to get those weather alerts later today. Right now, it is steamy. Temperatures mainly in the 70s, 76 in White Plains, 78 in Central Park, and 77 in Islip. But these skies are quiet currently, partly to mostly cloudy, but I am watching some areas of dense fog, most of that around north and northwest New Jersey. Visibility down to a half a mile in Sussex and Somerville. Also slightly improving near East Hampton and the Twin Forks. So dry this morning through the early afternoon hours. High temperatures in the low to mid 90s will feel like the upper 90s and as high as 103 to 105. And later this afternoon, a chance for a few thunder showers and storms. I'm going to show you the timing hour by hour in just a few. Heather?
All right, Brittany, let's talk about mass transit. So the Gladstone branch has a suspension, unfortunately. That's the Moores and Essex line, suspended between Far Hills and Gladstone. There was a low-speed derailment. So the Gladstone branch has bus service being provided. Maine, Bergen, and Pascack Valley lines, the schedule adjustments are in place for FIFA World Cup. Now, we're also looking at the BQE northeast of Atlantic Avenue. We had a stall. The stall was cleared. You can see how nicely that traffic is moving. E-trains, Manhattan-bound changes. The E's are running on the F from 36th Street, getting into West 4th Street. And then this is how the BQE is looking as you come around the bend, getting up into the Brooklyn Bridge, and the Brooklyn Bridge still doing very well. Alternate side of the street parking rules are in effect. Pedro and Charlene, over to you.
All right, thank you both. Later today, you're never more than 7 minutes away from weather and traffic together. So there's an AccuWeather alert today for dangerous heat. If you thought it was steamy yesterday, even hotter today, high temperatures in the low to mid 90s, heat index numbers over 100 degrees. So 92 in Central Park, Toms River up to 95. A closer look at highs across Nassau and western Suffolk County. Freeport 89, Roslyn 93, and Manor Haven up to 93. Babylon the upper 80s. There's also a high risk for rip currents along most of the shoreline, so something to keep in mind if you want to cool off at the beaches. And once again, looking at an air quality alert that now includes Nassau and Suffolk County as well as Fairfield County, so that could worsen to unhealthy for sensitive groups. The AccuWeather alert today for hot temperatures, also gusty afternoon and evening thunderstorms, but tomorrow mainly dry, 86. We'll see more rain on Thursday. Heather?
And let's look at some construction around the area. Brittany, we do have it, and it's on I-95 South, right near exit 17 in New Rochelle. So you can see only one lane is open. So we do have delays getting into that spot. 13 minutes to go 4 miles, so you're averaging 19 miles per hour. Then as you go farther south, right near exit 11, you can see that this traffic is stopped. This is another construction zone, and that is causing some pretty heavy delays getting in through the Bronx. 6 minutes to go only 1 mile. So unfortunately, you're going to have to deal with that if you have to take I-95. And this is how the LIE is looking. No major issues getting to the city, and we have alternate side of the street parking rules in effect. Pedro and Charlene, over to you.
All right, Heather. And
it's the playoffs. The team was just terrible. Mike Brown came in and turned that franchise around.
Wow.
So I'm very
happy
curious
with this hire.
I think it's a great hire. Where do you go from Thibodeau? Because Thibodeau, obviously, Eastern Conference Finals, fantastic. But they brought in someone who's...
Well, I mean, you know, for any future teams, they should consult with you because, I mean, you're already on money.
Yankees talk to me about the next new manager.
He's got that intel.
Yes. Yes.
I like to think I do. I don't work downstairs at ESPN. Those guys are too good.
You're on the same page. I like it.
But, you know, I try to think I'm a pro at that. You're a pro at the weather. You know everything happening. And you got us covered today. I mean, it's going to be a really hot day.
Yes, and yesterday was so steamy. Even hotter today. Temperatures in the 90s. Heat index numbers over 100 degrees. And then more rainfall and storms late this afternoon throughout this evening. So it's not going to rain all day. But when that rain gets here, it could be quite heavy in some spots, producing gusty winds. But this morning, we're mainly quiet and steamy. Temperatures mainly in the 70s at 78 degrees in Central Park. It feels like 81, light winds near 2 miles per hour. There is enough moisture in place for some pockets of dense fog. So it's visibility down to a half a mile in Somerville, improving to 4 in Sussex, also dropping in Montgomery, some fog too near Montauk. 70 in Morristown, 74 in Toms River, and 78 degrees in Bridgeport. High temperatures in the lower 90s could feel like the upper 90s and the triple digits, all thanks to high humidity in place. So that's prompting a heat advisory that includes most of the tri-state. Once you start talking about heat index numbers near 100 degrees, your body has to work so much harder to cool down, making it dangerous because you're at a higher risk for heat-related illnesses. This morning, skies are clear to partly cloudy, but at least we're dry after a few showers yesterday. We'll see more coverage and rainfall later today. Now, that's partially thanks to some leftover moisture from what's left of Chantal that's moving away from us. But now there's this approaching cold front that will spark more widespread showers and storms later today. So let's look at the timing, letting you know when you'll need that umbrella. This morning, we're dry, even more of the same around lunchtime in the first half of this afternoon. But later this afternoon, a few isolated showers and storms start to develop on radar. And then this turns more so widespread closer to sunset in a few hours after sunset throughout the early evening hours. So make sure you have a way to get those weather alerts if you're out and about later today. Some of this could also impact your evening commute. Tomorrow, a break in the rainfall, so we'll have a pocket of drier air that's going to put us down to high temperatures in the 80s, only a small chance for an isolated shower. That is short-lived because rain chances ramp back up on Thursday, and some of that could be heavy. But back to those storms later today, some of those could be severe. There's now a slight risk, level 2 out of 5, for severe weather. That includes the city, most of New Jersey, portions of Nassau County, and the lower Hudson Valley. The main threat will be damaging winds as well as downpours. Speaking of downpours, more counties added to the flood watch. Remember, yesterday it was only out for Central Jersey. Now it includes all of New Jersey and pretty much most of the tri-state. Rainfall rates could approach 2 inches per hour. So watch out for flash flooding and river flooding. Rainfall totals in the lower end could range between 1/4 of an inch to 1/2 an inch, but heavier amounts could range between 1 to 2 to even 2.5 inches. Today, 92, hot, very humid, a chance for late afternoon and evening thunder showers. Some of those could be severe, producing gusty winds and flooding downpours. More the same early this evening. Tomorrow, a break, 86, so mainly dry, just an isolated shower, but rain chances do go back up on Thursday. At least temperatures starting Thursday start to cool down into the lower 80s. We'll stay in this active pattern with a daily chance for pop-up showers. So, Heather, you mentioned earlier that it was quiet. Is that still the case outside?
You know what? It is still quiet.
Okay.
I don't like to say that. All right, thank you, Brittany. Let's talk about what's happening here. George Washington Bridge, something you don't usually see. Yes, I'm going to use the Q word once again. It is quiet to both that upper and that lower level, so no major issues at this point. Now, we do have an issue, however, with the train. So the Gladstone branch, the Morrison-Essex line for New Jersey Transit, that is suspended between Far Hills and Gladstone. There was a low-speed derailment. Now, we have the Morrison-Essex line bus service being provided on that Gladstone branch. The main Bergen and Pascack Valley line, there are schedule adjustments for FIFA World Cup. Alternate side of the street parking rules are in effect for today, and we'll be back right after the break.
You're never more than 7 minutes away from weather and traffic together. There's an AccuWeather alert today because it's going to be even hotter with high temperatures in the 90s. Heat index numbers approaching 100 degrees. Also, more showers and storms compared to yesterday, late this afternoon throughout this evening. Some of those could be severe, producing damaging winds and flash flooding. A closer look at high temperatures, 92 in Central Park, also 91 in White Plains, Poughkeepsie, up to 90 for you in New Jersey. Toms River, 96, 95 in Jackson, and Old Bridge, 90. 75 degrees. If you want to cool off at the coastline, watch out for a high rip current risk and also an air quality alert that now includes Nassau and Suffolk County as well as Fairfield County. It's good for now, but that could worsen to unhealthy for sensitive groups. Tomorrow, not as wet, mainly dry, just an isolated shower, 86. We'll see more rainfall on Thursday, but at least temperatures cool down into the lower 80s. Heather?
All right, we are taking
cart, and I walked in and I was like, oh, I regret this. Was a one train. So, I mean,
it happened to be a one train.
It was a one train. It was here down at our station. So, like, yeah, I get it.
Got to invest in that neck fan.
That David Navarro.
You know what? I'm not mad at it. It looks kind of interesting. I won't say anything negative because that's my boy, but it looks, different.
You'll need it today.
Your phone. Yeah, you do need it too because today, the hottest day of the week. Yesterday was stuffy. Today, temperatures in the 90s, heat index numbers near 100 degrees. Even right now in Central Park, it is 78. It feels like 81, so similar temperatures all across the map. But there is enough moisture for a few pockets of dense fog, so a closer look. Visibility dropping at a quarter of a mile in Sussex, below a mile in Somerville and Montgomery, also improving near East Hampton and Montauk. 72 in Morristown, 73 in Poughkeepsie, and good morning in Danbury, waking up to 77. We take these numbers into the lower 90s, but real field temperatures climb above 100 degrees in some spots, getting as high as 103 to 105 across parts of New Jersey. So the heat advisory includes most of the tri-state. Once heat index numbers get above 100 degrees, your body has to work so much harder to cool down, increasing your risk for heat-related illnesses. That's why you have to take this seriously. So make sure to take it easy and stay hydrated. Currently, skies are clear to partly cloudy. We are dry, but that's not going to stay the case all day. We'll see more activity late this afternoon throughout this evening. That's all thanks to a round of moisture left over from the remnants of Chantal that's pushing away from us. And now there's this approaching cold front that will spark a round of scattered to numerous thunder showers around the region. Looking at the timing this morning, we're dry, even still dry near lunchtime. But the second half of this afternoon, that's when we'll see radar firing up with rain and storms across the area. It turns more so widespread towards sunset and a few hours after sunset as well. So bottom line, it's not going to rain all day, but it turns really active late this afternoon throughout this evening. That's when you really want to make sure you have a way to get those weather alerts for flooding and the threat for damaging winds. Tomorrow, we do get a break from most of the rain. It's mainly dry. Maybe a sprinkle or two, but a mixture of sunshine and clouds and temperatures in the 80s. That dry break will be short-lived because rain chances go back up on Thursday. But at least Thursday, temperatures cool down into the lower 80s, so getting a break from the heat, not the humidity. Now, with the heat that could fuel severe weather, there's a slight risk for severe storms, level 2 out of 5. That includes the boroughs, western Nassau County, all in New Jersey, portions of the Hudson Valley and Pike County. The main threat will be damaging winds as well as downpours, and that flooding threat includes more spots across the tri-state. Most of us under this flood watch for rainfall rates that could approach 2 inches per hour, leading to localized flash flooding, even the potential for river flooding. When it comes to rainfall totals on the lower end, we could see between a quarter of an inch to a half an inch, but heavier amounts could range between 1 to 2.5 inches, maybe even close to 3 in some locations. An AccuWeather alert today for the dangerous heat, also gusty afternoon and evening thunderstorms and flooding rainfall. Temperatures near 92, heat index numbers over 100 degrees, 74 this evening. Early evening thunder showers tapering off overnight. Tomorrow, much better, 86, a mixture of clouds and sunshine, and just a stray shower, but most of us stay dry on Wednesday. That all changes Thursday. Rain chances go back up, but at least temperatures cool down into the lower 80s. And we stay in the low 80s this weekend through early next week, but we still keep a chance for a daily isolated shower. So things ramping up when it comes to the weather later today. How's the traffic holding up this morning?
Well, it's starting to ramp up just a bit. And
okay.
I was talking about the George and how quiet it was. Well, we do have some delays there now. Thank you, Brittany. But let's talk about the Gowanus first. Inbound at the Prospect Expressway, you can see this stalled tractor trailer right over here. So they brought out heavy-duty tow now to get that tractor trailer cleared off of the Gowanus. But we do have some really heavy delays as you come up the Gowanus, getting into this area where that tow truck is going to tow away this tractor trailer. Now, let's go over here and talk about the George Washington Bridge. So now I'm seeing some traffic getting over into that lower level. Upper level is doing better, but for the most part, it is pretty quiet. And we do have alternate side of the street parking rules in effect. Shirlene and Pedro, over to you.
All right, Brittany, Heather, thank you.